My name is Joanna DiCarlo, Director of Athletics here at Westboro High School, and it is my extreme pleasure to be welcoming you all here today to our Hall of Fame Class of 2009 induction. Before I begin, there are certainly a few people in this room that I would like to send out a special thanks to for their help in participating with putting on this breakfast today in the induction of our Hall of Fame Class of 2009. So first off, let me begin with Debbie Silverman, who's in the corner. Many of you met when you were walking in. Maura Shunny, not sure where Maura is, in the back. These two ladies, along with Jill Williams, are members of our Westboro Athletic Boosters Association, but more importantly, even without that association, they just have provided me with unlimited amount of time and effort in the participation of planning this buffet today. They have been great women to work with the entire time, and I want to send them a special thanks because I certainly couldn't have done this without them. So thank you, Maura and Debbie. One of the women that helped us out is not able to make it today, but Jill Williams was also instrumental in planning this entire affair today. Some other people that we'd like to send a quick thank you to is Donna Kelly, who's videotaping the entire ceremony today. Her husband, Mike, is in the back, and Mike will be taking pictures throughout the ceremony. We would like to have the Hall of Fame inductees take a big group shot at the end of the event, and also if any family would like to have a Hall of Fame picture taken, Mike is willing to take pictures for anyone that is present today. Next, brunch was prepared by Chef du Jour. They are a company that we've been working with closely here at Westboro, and they put on a great spread for us, so we'd like to thank them. And the programs today were printed by Curry Printed and donated by Curry Printing, all 100 programs, so we'd like to thank them as well. This event has meant a lot to me. I've been somebody that's been associated with athletics my entire life, and I also truly believe in trying to bridge the history with the present in athletics. I think it's something that our kids here at Westboro can learn a lot about. Me as a new athletic director and somebody who's new to this area really enjoyed going through this process of screening nominations and working with our selection committee to find some quality inductees this year. I really enjoyed learning some more of the history. I'd heard a lot of the names, such as Bob Poole, Clark Masters, Joe Mawhinney, and some of them I had been fortunate enough to meet. Some of them I hadn't, so it was really great for me to spend some time learning the history of Westboro athletics and then being able to put names and faces together to make those connections. It's something that I feel I can now pass down to some of our student ambassadors or students that we have here. And we actually have a few student ambassadors with us today that are sitting in the audience. They were the ones that were greeting you and showing you where the cafeteria was. And this is something that hopefully we can generate some interest with our other students about trying to bridge that gap between the past and the present. At this time, it's my honor to welcome to the podium Mr. John Smith. He is the principal at Westboro High School, and he's going to have a few opening remarks for you.
Good morning. Distinguished guests, family, friends, and Hall of Fame inductees. It is my honor to speak to you this morning as we induct 7 new distinguished guests and former athletes and coaches into the Westboro Athletics Hall of Fame. Each of you has distinguished yourself in Westboro athletics through participation or coaching and has left a legacy of integrity for our athletic department. Westboro athletics have always and will continue to be an important part of student culture here at Westboro High School. As all of you know, athletics play a large role in the development of young men and women. Perseverance, determination, and leadership are all qualities that athletics brings to our society. For many of us, the greatest moments we had in school relate to something that took place during our participation in sports. For our coaches being inducted, athletics gave you an opportunity to teach outside of the classroom and to have a positive impact on so very many lives. I congratulate each of you on this very special achievement, and I thank you for all of your contributions to making this an outstanding high school. Thank you.
We have asked each inductee to bring with them a presenter that was meaningful in their lives. And so the first presenter that we'd like to bring up today is Jan Gibo, who will be presenting Joe Mawhinney into the Hall of Fame. You're welcome.
Great job, Johanna. Thank you, Mr. Smith. Good morning to everyone. Congratulations to all the inductees and their families. It's wonderful to see you again. And although I haven't had a chance to speak to all of you, I'll be leaving shortly. Hopefully afterwards, if you want to come out and get soaked in the rain and watch the Rangers defeat Doherty, that would be wonderful. In August of 1962, Westboro High School's new phys ed teacher, department head, AD, and head football coach waved goodbye to his wonderful wife, Kathy, who recently passed away, his daughter, Leanne, sons, Glenn and Gary, and drove his blue Rambler, remember that one, kids, into the parking lot of which is presently the Gibbons Middle School to embark on his new career by way of Butler High School in Wanacue, New Jersey, Springfield College, and St. Lawrence University. As a freshman in that year, I unwittingly began a 47-year odyssey that has brought me today where I have the privilege and honor of presenting to you Joe Mawhinney as one of this year's inductees to the Westboro Hall of Fame. Joe Mawhinney was my first football coach and athletic director, but he is much more than that to me and thousands of others students who have passed through the gates of Westboro High School between the years of 1962 and 1999. His lessons of respect and fair play will never be duplicated. Joe truly led by example. He was always a gentleman, which was substantiated by his team receiving the prestigious Sportsmanship Award given by the local Board of Officials. And that was, I know, one of his highlights of his career. That was one of my goals as well, but I guess I had too big a mouth and I never was awarded that goal. I'll give you one story of how classy Joe was in his last year of coaching. As things fall, when you stay in a place like Westboro long enough, you have a tough season. And in this particular year, we went into the Thanksgiving Day game not doing too well. And a new writer for the Middlesex News, Bill Griffin, wife was having a baby, and he was covering the game. He didn't know what to do. Just before kickoff, he ran up to Mr. Mawhinney, Coach Mawhinney, and said, "I got to get to a phone real quick." And Joe left his post, took the fella inside, and whenever I see Bill Griffin, he always tells me about what class and consideration Joe showed under the duress of that particular season. As one of Joe's players, I can't even begin to scratch the surface of telling all of you what wonderful memories I have stored in my memory bank that include the great times brought upon by the man that we are inducting today. He taught us that conditioning was a large part of the game, but also a bigger part in one's life. This is evidence when he suffered a heart attack recently, a few years ago, saved by Clark Masters. You all have heard that story. And his own physical conditioning, which he worked on daily throughout his career and made it a life job, was an integral role in his survival and recovery. I am proud to say that in my senior year, my teammates played well enough to earn Joe his first league championship in the good old Southern Worcester County League. Joe went on to become the most successful football coach in the history of Westboro, as you see in your program, as he led the Rangers to 2 perfect undefeated seasons in 1967 and in 1970. No other Ranger football coach has had that accomplishment. We had one other team in 1943, which was undefeated. Joe spent 17 years as our Ranger coach, and for his outstanding contribution to Central Mass football, he was inducted into the Massachusetts State Football Hall of Fame in 1985. Tracking back a bit, in 1982, Joe started a chapter of the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame for Central Mass players. This is a scholarship which is given in Eastern Mass prior to this time, and we had very few Central Mass kids get the honor of being a merit scholar. Mr. Long and Mr. Lewis are here. They were part of that initial chapter and part of that organization. This chapter awards 6 to 8 scholar athletes each year. And that was 19 years ago now. Joe had his chapter named after him. It is now called the Joe Mawhinney chapter of the Central Mass chapter of the National Football Foundation and Hall of Fame. Joe's group from that particular chapter was he was served as a long-time director as the Super Bowl that we have in Central Mass. Not too many of you present today may be aware of the fact that Joe was also Westboro's baseball coach for 4 years, from 1965 until 1968. In '84, Joe began an unprecedented stint as our full-time athletic director and acting vice principal due to the awful accident that left our then-principal, Bob Kirby, paralyzed. When Mr. Kirby could not return, Joe took over as our full-time vice principal in 1986 and remained in that position for 15 years until he retired from education in 1999. I must also add to you that Joe was our acting principal twice, as Mr. Veal retired and they could not find in the second tenure stint a replacement for a superintendent, so we had to do that as Maureen Zalubis went up and took over the roles as the superintendent. Well, there you have it, folks. A pretty vanilla biography of Joe Mooney, the coach and educator. Before I conclude, though, please consider the following facts. Joe was not only our AD, but also our PE, health, and health directors. 3 people fill those posts today. No one has ever been AD and acting vice principal at the same time. Today we have 1 AD, but 2 vice principals. As Paul Harvey would say, Joe was a 6-foot, 200-pounder when he arrived at Westboro in '62, but due to the fact that he did so much running around for our educational community, he is what you see before you today. A man whose positive influence has changed the direction of many students and players' lives, and now you know the rest of the story. Joe.
Congratulations.
Thank you. Congratulations. Thank you very much. I didn't think I was going to have to speak, but I wrote something down. Oh, first of all, Jan, thanks for that wonderful introduction. That's unbelievable. Joanna and John, for having this special day. Thanks to my children, Leanne, Glenn, and Gary, and their spouses, and my grandchildren, and Ellie, and my friends for being here today. My dad once said to me that don't let your head get too big for your hat. It only takes a short time for people to forget about you. You know, it's like putting your hand in a bucket of water and taking your hand out. You'd never know that your hand was in the water. So I've always gone with that. When you're gone, and that's the end of it. But it's very important that we have the Hall of Fame, that we have walls of fame, that we have trophies, that we have a trophy cabinet, because the inductees that are here today, it's important that we remember you over the years. It's part of our history, and you should never be forgotten. You know, all you inductees, I can tell a story about every one of you. So if you want to come up after, I don't want to go into it now, but there are some great things to be said. And congratulations to all the inductees. So here I am, 37 years teaching in Westboro, 14 years as assistant principal. I retire in '99, and I agreed to take Melissa Callender's place because she's going on a maternity leave after I'm retired. It's a physical education job for 12 weeks. I do the job teaching elementary, 2 classes at the high school. About the first 3 days of school, our librarian, Diane Libby, is talking to one of our female students. And she's all excited about her new classes and her teachers. She goes over all the teachers, and then she comes to physical education. And she says, well, I had a male physical education teacher. And Diane says, well, who was it? And she says to Diane, oh, some old guy wearing brand new white sneakers. So 2 months after I retire, former coordinator of athletics, 37 years, assistant principal, and in 2 months later, I become some old man in white sneakers. So that's my story, but Hall of Fame, maybe I'll be known for something else.
I gotta give you the right one.
Oh, give me the right one.
Take a picture? Oh. Now it is my honor to bring up Clark Masters, who will be introducing William Cove.
I want to thank everybody for being here and congratulate all the recipients. I do want to say thank you to John Smith and Joanna I was really blown away by this great turnout and wonderful breakfast. And like Joe said, we have stories about all you guys out there, even the relatives even. And I just have to share, you know, when I was in school teaching in the middle school, they had to come through us, the middle school. So I had most of all the children, and I had a very, very wonderful experiences with these kids, watching them grow and watching them turn into not only athletes but scholars. It's just a fabulous position to be in, and I feel really blessed to be here today to be able to share all these things with you. But a funny thing happened this morning. Willie Cove gave me a gift, and his gift was this picture of him winning the Southern Worcester County League Championship. Where am I? Right out here. Right out here. And so I was going to surprise him with his picture with the same one. So that's kind of an unusual situation. I thought that was great to share with you guys. But Willie has been a wonderful, was a wonderful athlete and a wonderful person. And I have a few notes here I wanted to jot down because I didn't want to forget any of the things that he has done in the past. So let me begin. It's my honor to induct Willie Cove to the Westboro High School Hall of Fame. He is a 74 graduate of our high school. In those 4 years, he established himself as an outstanding athlete and model student and citizen of Westboro High School. Willie, or Cover, Bill Cover, ran 4 years of cross country through 70, 71, 2, and 3, and 4 years of track and field. He captained in both the cross country and track and field teams during his junior and senior year. In 1970, he distinguished himself very quickly in his running career as a freshman. He was the first freshman from Westboro ever to take first place in the Wachusett Invitational. To set the stage, that set the stage for his great running performances thereafter, placing 6th in the varsity race in 72 and the 10th in 73, and receiving trophies in both of those races. Willie was the reason that Westboro was so successful in cross country during those years. In 1973, Willie, against Grafton, finished first in his new record course time, 14:39. In those days, if you broke 15, it was a big deal. And of course, Willie actually destroyed that record. His accomplishments go on, and Westboro won the Southern Worcester County League Cross Country Championship in 73, and Bill was the individual winner, covering the 2.8-mile course in a cold, raw day. Bill was also chosen in that year, 73, the most valuable cross-country runner. I think the most amazing accomplishment of Willie Cove during his 4 cross-country years was the fact that in every dual meet he would either place first, second, or third. Quite an accomplishment for this young man. Over 30 years have passed since the days of Willie Cove, and I haven't seen a more consistent performer and a more worthy recipient as he. I had coached the Westboro cross-country team for 35 years. My God. And I can honestly say there has never been a more consistent performer than Willie. During the early years of Westboro, they did not have a Westboro indoor track team. So in order for Willie to keep himself in racing form, he would run in the wind, snow, and rain. And I'd see him. I mean, he was just covered with mud and snow and frost and everything else. He was just dedicated because he knew that in order to maintain his running edge, he'd have to give 100% dedication to his running. And that's what he did. He was instrumental in helping many other runners as well. He was undefeated in the league in a 2-miler with one of his better times of 10:10. He was on the track now, on the track. Willie Cove was an outstanding athlete and a great representative of our school. But more importantly, Willie is a coach's dream. Now, this is my definition of a coach's dream, but a coach's dream nonetheless. A coach's dream is a self-motivated individual who takes his sport serious enough to learn all there is to learn in a technical sense and set goals to achieve his success. That's exactly what he did. During his cross-country and track seasons, I had many coaches express to me what a true gentleman Willie was. And I think this is probably the most important thing as far as I'm concerned. And how hard he worked. That is what a Hall of Famer should be all about. Outstanding performances coupled with great character. This is why Willie Cove deserves to be inducted into the Westboro Hall of Fame, and it is my great pleasure to be a part of this tribute.
Clark, it brings back memories of the awards nights at the high school back in the old days. I want to thank everybody for coming today, and I'd like to thank Clark for that wonderful introduction. It's my honor to be inducted with people such as Joe Moini and Coach LeDuc and all the other inductees today. I'd like to also thank my wife, because she did this as a surprise for me for my 50th birthday. And during that time, she also had a broken leg, and I still don't know how she got up in the attic to get the old scrapbooks out. When the phone call came about being inducted back, it brought back a lot of old memories. I can still remember when Clark Masters was my freshman coach, and he was handing out a poem. It was a poem for the team. It was called Don't Quit. Clark, I still got many copies today. He did this after the third day of practice my freshman year. And that was after he had us running Adams Street. Adams Street was one of the longer courses we did back then. And I remember after I finished that, I says, what am I doing? I also remember Clark coming around with the old Impala. I don't know if he was looking to see if we were stealing apples from the apple orchard on Adams Street or not. And I sometimes wonder if he ever knew we occasionally took a dip in the old Mill Pond on Mill Road. You talk about time. I remember being able to purchase a pair of running shoes for $7. It was an off-brand at that time. It was called Nike. I enjoyed being part of the cross-country and track teams here at Westboro High, and I think it helped lay a foundation for how I've lived my life. I learned through cross-country and track, if you want to succeed, you must set your goals and work hard to try to achieve those goals. I learned sportsmanship. Win or lose, Clark always had the team go and shake hands with the opposing team. And most of all, I learned don't quit. Clark, thanks for being a great coach, and thank you to Westboro High for this great honor.
Take a good picture with you?
Sure.
I'll have you copy it up, and I just realized it says cover. Look at that. Next, we're going to introduce Marty Hayes, who will be presenting Richard LeDuc.
Marty, thank you.
Good morning. Congratulations to all the honorees tonight. It's an honor to be part of this program today as a past student, student athlete, and former coach of this fine institution. It's fitting today that both Coach Joe Mawini and Dick LeDuc are honored in the same time, because anybody who's known Westboro at all, never mind just Westboro athletics, for the last 40, 45, maybe 50 years, those two gentlemen are mentioned in the same breath quite often, and a great honor for both. I, however, have been lucky to have both of these gentlemen be a large part of my life, both as an educator, professionally, and in my personal life, and I thank both of them for that. I'm not as eloquent as Coach Gibo or Coach Masters. I'm a storyteller, and I've got some stories I got a lot of stories to tell you about Coach LeDuc, but there's only a couple I'm going to tell you today. First start of my story starts at probably about 1966 in an elementary school called the Fail School. And it was a new phys ed teacher named Richard LeDuc. And one of the first days in class, we had a classmate of mine. Coach was going through something. I don't know what we were doing, and because you didn't pay attention back then anyway. And the kid, for some reason, called him, and I hope I don't offend anybody, a dirty swine. And everybody just went. And Coach looked at this student and said, "Do you know what that means?" And the kid probably shook his head no. So Dick, I don't know how he did it, but he literally put him above the door. We used to have those little ledges that come outside the gymnasium. If he did that now, he'd be fired. And we all just sat there and went, this guy doesn't take any crap. So 30 years later, I asked Coach, we were sitting around the locker room after a basketball, probably a victory, and I said, "Coach, you remember this?" And he goes, "Yeah, I think so." I said, "Why did you do that?" He said, "Well, I thought of it this way. If I sent him to the principal, which I should have, he would have got in trouble." That tells you something about Coach. And then in the next breath, he said, "Plus, I thought it was kind of funny anyway." Next year's was in the early 70s when I was a student here at Westboro High School. Coach was my football and basketball coach. Not bad for a guy who I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, had never played a down of football in his life. Coached football for almost 20 years here at Westboro High School. He was my phys ed coach, a teacher, and there was one thing about Coach LeDuc that you never worried about was whether you could hear him or not. As my mother would say, he has a gymnasium voice. One story I'd like to share with you, when Coach kind of got excited sometimes on the basketball court, and there was one game late in the game, probably about 10 seconds left, we had a real good ball player named John Piacenza on our team. Excuse me. I think we were down by 1 point, and Coach called one of his rare timeouts. And he called us over, and we all huddled around, and he was trying to draw up a play. And he said, "Okay, John, I want you here. Okay, Piacenza, I want you here." Same guy. Peon, I want you here. Same guy. He had him in 3 different spots in the lineup. Timeout was over, horn came on, we go walking back on the court. Tom Sullivan, the point guard, and Steve Hulbert, another senior at the time. They both looked at us and says, "You think he wants John to get the ball?" As usual, John hit the shot, we won the game, and Coach looked like a hero. After that, I was lucky enough to come back in 1983, and Coach Gibo asked me to join the football squad. Later on in that season, Coach LeDuc asked me to be his JV basketball coach. And I was lucky enough to play for Coach for several years, and I said, absolutely. And I spent the next 15 years as his JV coach and or assistant varsity coach, trying to grab his elbow and pull him back to the bench. I was lucky enough, however, to view his 100th victory. I played for him when he won his 200 game. I coached with him when he won his 300th game. And my friend Tom Sullivan and I went up to St. Bernard's to watch him win his 400th game. And that was an honor. We with his son Kevin. And ironically, I was there at St. Bernard's doing a football game last night, and I thought as I drove by the gymnasium, what such an honor that was. He was also inducted, as you can see, in the Massachusetts Basketball Coaches Hall of Fame. When I stopped coaching in the late 1990s, when my son was born, he asked me, "What are you going to do now?" I'm like, "Wait a minute, I'm only 40 years old. I got all sorts of things to do." He said, "Why don't you get into coaching in football? Stay in the game. You can coach as much as you did when you were a coach." Actually, it's more fun now because, again, don't take it personally, I don't have to deal with parents. And I haven't. I've been officiating ever since then. Matter of fact, my son goes to most of the games with me. Believe it or not, he's at a baseball game right now, participating. Hopefully, they were smart enough to call it off. So it was pretty nice tribute for Coach to still worry about what I was going to do once I left. And in closing here, Coach we've had a long road together. He was my phys ed teacher. He was my coach. He was my mentor. He was a colleague on the football field. Matter of fact, he and I did our first Super Bowls in the same year. And there are three names when I think of Westboro High School, and mostly athletics. One is Harold Bud Fisher. The other one is Joe Mooney, and the other one is Dick LeDuc. And at this point in my stage, the best thing to do is call him my friend. Ladies and gentlemen, Dick LeDuc.
I really don't need this microphone. In 1964, I came over here as a student teacher. I left Grafton High School as an Indian. I came over here and became a Ranger. I have been for the last 40 years. Never to forget it. A lot of fond memories, a lot of stories, a lot of sentimental things that have gone through my mind over the years. There's a few people I'd like to thank, and a few things I'd like to mention about the school system. I think the key to the success in this school system in athletics has been the consistency in the administration. From the principals, I worked for 4 principals in 38 years. I worked for 4 ADs in 38 years. One year, the first year I came, Bud Fisher was the AD. The last year I was here, Callahan was the AD. In between was Mawhinney and Welch. And another thing is the consistency of the coaches and the length of time they stay. I was fortunate enough to be able to coach varsity basketball here for 38 years, for 34 years. JV for 2, and I took a year off, and I coached the freshman team to watch my great son, Kevin, play in high school, his senior year. That was an experience in its own. First game I watched Kevin play, he's playing against Hope Day. He takes 38 shots, and he's 5 for 38. And I said to him when I came home, I said, I was waiting for him because we had filmed the game. And I says, I waited a half an hour. We lived 5 minutes from the high school. I says, Kevin, I said to my wife, Evelyn, I said, where's Kevin? Oh, he's in bed already. Not for long. Got him out of bed. I said, if you think I gave up coaching a varsity basketball team to watch you take 38 shots in a night, you're crazy. Okay? So you better smarten up a little bit. But not only did I coach long, John Doyle coached baseball for many, many years. Bob Poole for many, many years. Colleen Debish for many, many years in field hockey. I mean, and Jan coached for many years in football. I mean, that's key to any athletic program. Key to any athletic program is to have consistency, and the kids know what the expectations are when they come on board. They know what it is to have these expectations. They know what to expect. They know if they're going to step in the gym with Coach LeDuc, he's going to scream. If you can't play for a screamer, you don't play for me. You're in the wrong place, buddy. I'll tell you that right now. And I see Richie Maloney. Richie Maloney took a lot of abuse from me, but probably Richie Maloney was the best point guard that I ever coached in my 34 years. True point guard. Then there's Michael Powers. You had to deal, because once in a while my phone would ring and my kids would say, Big Jim on the phone. And I'd say, Big Jim? Oh yeah, I know who it is, Mr. Powers. And then we'd talk for a while, and never told me how to coach, but once. We were going into the Clark finals, and Jim Powers said to me, I think you should try this out-of-bounds play, Coach. I says, too late, Jim, I can't put it in right now. But anyways, we went on to win the game. Another story, Michael Powers. I look up, Marty was there. I look up, and I can't find Michael. I don't know where the hell he is. He's out the door throwing up, barfing all over the balcony. And there's John Del Dorian feeding him hot dogs. I'm saying, he's not going to get any better. Come back in, get Michael back in the game, turn around. Michael's coming off. We had called a timeout. Michael's coming off the court, and Marty says, watch out, all over me. Sprayed me all over my pants. Unbelievable. And then a story about Marty Hayes. We used to have an official named Chick Sales, and we were playing. I just want to go back a little bit. We had a principal at the time, Mr. Vail, Robert Vail, and every time one of my players got a technical foul, I had to go into the office. I had to go into the office and explain why so-and-so got a technical foul. Of course, I never got any, but that's beyond point. But anyways, this night, for some reason, we couldn't start our regular point guard, so Marty gets the ball, and he's dribbling up the court. Chick Sales calls traveling on him. Marty throws the ball up in the air, and Chick says, if that ball comes down, Marty, you got a technical foul. So the next day, Mr. Vail calls me in. He says, why did Marty get the technical? I said, you're not going to believe this. The ball came down, Mr. Vail. Well, if you could have seen him, you have to know Mr. Vail. He went absolutely berserk. I think he was ready to fire me at the time, because he called me a wise ass and all this stuff. Well, anyways, all that kind of stuff brings back. I could tell story after story after story about things that happened to me as a coach. But there's 4 things that really changed when I was coaching in the game of basketball, and it really affected me as a coach. First of all, they eliminated the jump ball. They had alternate possessions. And I thought that took a lot of coaching out of the game, because I felt that you could coach the jump ball situation. Second of all, they put the three-point play in. That was very difficult for me, because I was a control freak as a coach. I had to know where everybody was, where the shots were coming from and everything. And the three-point play, when I first came in, they had to ask me if they could shoot it. But at the end, we shot quite a few. And then the next thing, then they went from quarters to halves. I couldn't understand why they went from quarters to halves. But they did that, and it was a pretty good advantage of the game. And then the worst thing was for me was the coaching box. I never knew it was there. Every game, the officials would come over, take a piece of tape, lay it down. There's your coaching box, coach. Yep, okay. You'll be fine. I'll be fine. Don't worry about me. You won't find me on the coach's box. But those are the things that really bring back the memories. The clock tournaments we went into. The games we got beat by. The game we got beat by Shrewsbury, 50 points. And the coach comes up to me and says, Coach, your kids played hard. I said, who in the hell are you kidding? We played hard. How do we play hard? We got beat by 50. And I said, you'll never beat me by 50 again. When they came to Westboro, we held the ball for the first 6 minutes of the half, for a quarter. We held the ball. And at the first quarter, the score was 2-1. We were winning. 2-1, we were winning. At halftime, 9-8, we were winning. We ended up losing the game 29-27. But he didn't beat me by 50. So once again, congratulations to all the inductees. It's certainly an honor for me to be inducted into the Westboro Hall of Fame with such great people. My mentor, Joe Mawhinney, my friend Marty, John. And one last story. One of the finest things that ever happened to me in coaching was being able to coach against my son, Kevin. 2 years we coached against each other. I won once. He was a great loser. He won once. I was a terrible loser. I didn't talk to him for 2 weeks. Because I thought he used to call me Gene Hackman from the Hoosiers, because I was coaching in the dark ages, he said. But I said, Kevin, when you win as many games as I have, then you can come talk to me. Thank you very, very much.
Coach. Next, we'd like to bring up Peter Mariani, who will be inducting Susan McDougall-Keating.
Good morning. Thank you very much. Good morning. This morning I have the privilege of presenting for induction into the Westboro High School Athletic Hall of Fame one of our girls track stars from our very successful teams in the early 1980s. our program's captain, Sue McDougall-Keating. Sue becomes the third member of our team to be inducted, following Christine Foley and Christine Healy, who were inducted back in 1998. Sue was your classic high school student athlete. She was very involved in different clubs and activities. She was very popular with her classmates and her teammates, and she was very well liked and respected by administrators, teachers, and especially her track coach. She was an excellent student and very athletic. During the fall season, Sue was a member of the cheerleading squad. In the winter, she was on the gymnastics team and was one of that team's best performers. But it was Sue's ability in track and field that gave her the most success. She was our program's best all-around jumper. As a competitor in the high jump and the long jump, she also competed in the 220 and ran the third leg on our 4x110 relay team. In her high school career, Sue placed all 4 years in the all-district championships in the high jump, and because of that, was able to go to the Massachusetts All-State meet all 4 years, and that's quite an accomplishment. She was a two-time Midland League champion, setting a personal best in the event in the high jump during her junior and senior years. She was undefeated in the high jump and dual meets during those 2 years, and along with Pam Proto, she formed a terrific 1-2 combo in the long jump, with both of them placing very high in the Midland League championships. Sue was certainly one of the main reasons why our team went 15-3 in dual meets during her junior and senior years. Another very important aspect of Sue's contributions to our team's success was that she was a 2-year captain. It was a responsibility she took very seriously, and as her coach, I certainly relied on her a great deal. Oftentimes at practice, a day or so before a meet, we would walk a lap or two around the track discussing all aspects of the team. And if I seemed a bit nervous about an upcoming meet, Sue would just give me a little smile and nudge me with a little bit of elbow and just say, "Don't worry, Pete, I'm in charge. You're just along for the ride." And of course, we'd go out and win the meet by 40 or 50 points, so I worried for nothing. Sue was always making sure all of her teammates were on the same page, all of us working together every day, from the stars right down to the young, inexperienced freshmen. Because of her leadership, we were a very close team. Sue was a member of the class of 1982, and along with her track classmates, Pam Proto, Jill Lopato, Sherry Landroch, and Nancy Doherty, they formed just a coach's dream class. They worked hard every day, never complained, maybe a little bit, loved to compete, and really loved winning. The 1982 team was a great team to coach, and it was a very easy team to coach. Practices were very spirited, they were tough, they were competitive, and they were fun. Many times after practice, I couldn't believe some of the workouts that I had just seen that team do. I knew this team could compete with anyone, anytime, any place in the entire state. They were that good. They feared no one, absolutely no one. They defeated a Neshoba team that had never lost a dual meet and challenged the great Shrewsbury dynasty to the last event. And in the all-district championships, they finished second out of over 50 teams, and it's still the highest finish in the all-district championships of any girls track team here in Westboro, and I believe the programs have been here for over 30-something years. Today, Sue lives with her husband, Patrick, and their daughter, Maggie, in Ellsworth, Maine, and she's a very successful businesswoman. It is a great honor for me to present our great captain, Susan McDougall-Keating.
Thank you, Pete. It's very funny to see Pete so humble and calm up here. That's not how I remember him back in the days, and it's really, I felt kind of old driving down here, a 5-hour drive. My back was hurting, and I'm 45. But being here today, I kind of feel like I'm at the old sports awards ceremony, and I see all the same faces, and everybody looks great and looks the same. And I guess that's what sports will do for you throughout your life. Keeps you in good shape and good spirit. So it's really fun to see all the old names and faces. And thanks for hosting this again. I don't know why it stopped, but I think it is a great tradition to have this, and it means a lot. And it allows, you know you're getting old when you're getting these kind of awards, though. But it means a lot to us to kind of look down memory lane, and this is what our life was about. So, and sports has always been a really big part of everyone in my family's life. You know, starting with my parents, and they encouraged us in sports. You know, my dad and mom got us into every sport you can imagine when we were little, and I guess that's what sort of pushed us into it, and I do the same with my kids. But I wouldn't even be standing up here. I mean, there's so many talented kids that come through Westboro High, thousands and thousands of kids. So I'm humbled by it, but I really wouldn't be standing here if it wasn't for Coach Mariani, because I think, you know, because he nominated me, I'm here. That's the only way people get recognized. So I don't think there's a lot of coaches out there that take the time and effort to remember the kids and do what he did for all of us. He mentioned the other track kids. So wouldn't be here without you, Pete. And so I wouldn't be getting this recognition. And I don't feel like I'm up here alone, as he said. I did a lot of sports in high school, but it was really track and field that, you know, we really excelled at. And I feel like I'm up here with all my teammates. I feel like Pammy's here, and Jill's here, and Sandy's here, and Nancy's here, and the two Chrissies are here, and Pete's up here. I mean, this award is for all of us. I feel like no one does it alone. That's the whole thing with sports, and that's what you really learn. You are a team. And let's see. I wrote this speech because I tend to ramble. So we were a team that had talent, but maybe lacked a little motivation or something. We didn't have that something. But we were lucky enough that partway through our high school career, Coach Mariani decided to, for whatever reason, come to Westboro High that year. So my daughter Maggie is here. She's 13. And I'm always telling Maggie at gymnastics meets, whatever place she comes in, there's always going to be someone ahead of you. There's always going to be someone behind you. You know, it's as much just to try. But in our case with track, I got to say that wasn't actually true. We were last. We were dead last. So when we looked behind ourselves, there was just bleachers, no people. We were last. So Pete somehow took our talented but unmotivated team, and he sort of shook through who's best at what and who had this kind of talent or that kind of talent. And he worked with us all as individuals, but he also pulled us together as a team. And I can't tell you what those 2 years meant to me. I mean, it's memories like everyone's saying. It's the camaraderie and the memories and those experiences that make us who we are today. And I can tell you as a teenage girl, I didn't want to be at track on a Saturday. I wanted to be at the mall. I didn't want to be throwing up at the mall either because we had run so hard during track practice because Pete was punishing us for something. But it's those kind of days that builds character, and it's the days that you don't want to be at practice and you do go that, you know, those are the ones that really mean something. So, okay, rambling, back to the list. Let's see. The excitement, like he said, was, and I didn't remember, I thought we came in second in the league, but to come in second in the district, you know, it's a sign that I'm getting old. But he did take us from last place to second place in the district, and that means a lot. All that hard work and all that time and the effort we put in really paid off, and it's those rewards and memories that you take with you and hopefully pass down. So now that I'm 45, no longer clearing high jumps and doing back handsprings and gymnastics, it's my time to sort of pass the baton. And all the kids here, you know, it's their time to shine. So my parents got my sisters and I into sports, and I'll always thank them for that. But now I want to recognize the new generation. I see a lot of the power kids here, which is really fun because they were always a big part of our lives in sports. All the power kids stand up. Maggie, stand up. All the kids here in sports, I want you to all stand up and be recognized because I know those power kids are into sports, okay? This is our next generation of superstars, and I know my daughter Maggie, who's 13 there. Yes, you have to stand up. She's a very serious gymnast, and she was second in the state of Maine last year and the year before, and first on beam. She works really hard, and as a parent now, I'm watching and cheering, and this is what we all need to do, it's the coaches and the parents and the teachers that all, help us stay in sports and influence us. So it's hard as a parent, though, to watch on the sidelines of being with my paper bag as I'm watching Maggie up there. It's a little different being a parent spectator, but I enjoy it just as much, if not more. And I thank you for this award. It means a lot to me.
You wouldn't mind? Posterity?
I got my high heels on.
And now here to introduce Mike Power is his brother, Tom Power.
Thank you very much, guys. Might want to shut the camera off on this one. Sue McDougal and I dated for one day in junior high. Now I know why. We passed notes to we passed notes to date, then we passed notes to break up. Pretty funny. Nice job by everybody. Congratulations for the Hall of Fame. You all deserve it. You're all great coaches, by the way, and great respect for all of you. I'm going to do this a little different. I'm going to tell you a story about our house, about our family. Michael had a hard time doing chores in the house, and I liked to sleep a lot. And my dad was always up early, so every morning, usually on Saturday or Sunday, usually in summer times when we had a little more time to relax and the yard work needed cutting or whatever, my dad would kick the door into our bedroom, make a lot of noise, and try to wake us up. And every morning, same old thing. Mike, day's going by, could be out dribbling, could be out shooting foul shots. And that would happen day after day after day. So after a while, it didn't work on him. So he invented this character, and next thing you know, he's telling Mike about this guy who's transferring to town. He's a really good player, he's a good shooter, and he makes up this name, no lie, Stubby Altmaier, all right? So every Saturday or Sunday, Mike, Stubby Altmaier, he's out shooting foul shots already. He's already run 2 miles. And Mike and I are living with this, the door's kicking open. He's in his boxer shorts, shaving cream on his face, the whole thing, My dad had a whole routine about getting up, washing the face, gargling. It was all on purpose to get us out of bed, I think. So after a while, Mike got pretty smart, and he puts the shoe on the door. My dad had a size 13 or 14 shoe. He puts it on the door to our bedroom, no lie, all right? And we go to bed. We thought he was gonna, come in that night, and he didn't. So we're sleeping the next morning. We hear the door kick open. Shoe comes down, spanks my dad in the head. He goes crazy, all right? But it worked. All right, going forward, whenever he came in our door, you'd hear, Mike, Stubby's already got 500 foul shots in. Then you hear this little silence. You'd hear then the door would kick open. He was always looking up from that point on. So anyway, our house was all about sports. It was a great neighborhood to grow up in, and a lot of fun, a lot of support by our parents for everybody. Just a couple of stats on Mike. I know there's some stuff on the book there. Played as a freshman. Played varsity in football, basketball, and baseball. In football, he played 41 games. All right, with one game being the Super Bowl win against Fitchburg. I think it might have been the first Super Bowl win for Westboro. Great win. 59 touchdown passes. All right? This is all under Jan Gibo. He threw for almost 6,000 yards. All right? He believe he was the Shriners offensive MVP in the Shriners game. Okay. In basketball, under Dookie, Michael is still the all-time leading scorer for Westboro. He's got over 1,600 points. And Mike's kind of laid back, and it doesn't mean much to him sometimes, but every now and then, if someone's scoring from Westboro, I'll get this phone call. Tommy, how's this Banks kids? How's this Brady kid? Don't worry about it, you know? They won, in basketball, they won the clock once. They won the Midland League 3 times. Great team, great supporting cast for Michael. And lastly, with my brother Jimmy, myself, and Michael, we never lost to Algonquin in football, the whole Powell family. I thought that's pretty cool. That's it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you. Now? Picture now? Okay, cool. Oh, thanks, Tommy. Thanks, everybody, for the fellow inductees. Congratulations. I want to thank Westboro High. I want to thank John, Mara, who got the ball started here. I want to tell you, why this is such a great honor. When you called me up a couple of weeks ago in California, the kids today, not that I have any, but they have a lot of distractions with the internet and video games and all this stuff. And when I was growing up as a young kid in Westboro, there wasn't a lot of things to do but sports and a lot of great fields. We had a great family structure. My mother, my father, Jim, my mother, Liz, my brother, Jimmy, Tommy, of course, Jeannie, Diane, just a great family. So we used to come, a big part of our life was coming to all the Westboro games every chance we had. My father would go get the donuts down at Don's Donuts. We'd come watch my older brother Jimmy play, and then it was Tommy. But I'll tell you, and Richie Maloney, who's here, an old teammate, can attest to it, when we entered the high school, a big part was every day staring at the trophy case of the teams or the players of yesteryear. And I remember they were like heroes to us, even though we could never really see them. And Marty, you would know what I'm talking about. We would constantly be like, hey, how was that 1966 basketball team? Who is this guy, Richie Schoenbeck? And and Frank Desiato was one of my Little League coaches on the team. And Marty, I remember, I think of him I only met him a few times, but your brother Jimmy, a legendary player. So as a kid, because of the trophy case, because of the plaques, because what they had around the high school in sports, you aspired to be someday, hey, is my name going to be in that trophy case and be on that wall? So you're doing a great job. So I really appreciate, I want to give these guys kind of an ovation for what they're doing. Seriously, it means a lot. I want to kind of thank, most of all my family. My father, Jim, he was the rock of my life, and my mother too, was the other rock of my life. My brother Jimmy, Tommy, Diane, Jeannie, just the best. I live 3,000 miles away from home, and it makes you realize how great your family is. My brother-in-law Eddie, my brother-in-law Brian, just great people to us. All the coaches I had over the years, I'll get to some funny stories here. Coach Gibo, Marty, Coach Doyle, Coach LeDuc, I see Coach Poole here, Coach Masters. I'll tell you, at the time as a kid, you don't get it. But now I coach out in California. I run a little private quarterback school. I do a lot of coaching. All of you comes out of me as I try to coach kids. Now, each bit of you. When I'm mad at a kid, I make him run 3 miles, that's Coach Doyle. When I scream at somebody, that's Dookie. When I put my arm around someone, that's Coach Jeeves. So your legend of coaches carries on into your players after they get older. I want to talk about a funny story. Tommy mentioned, I scored a lot of points in high school in basketball. Well, I'll tell you the key to scoring a lot of points. The key to scoring a lot of points in basketball happened my freshman year. My father was a great player. He played at Boston College, was on the first NCAA team at Boston College that played in the NCAA tournament. So he knew the game. And I remember my freshman year, and I think it was a scrimmage. I'm on the varsity, and Dookie's at a timeout, calls a timeout, and he says, Michael Power, you take the ball out of bounds. He calls a play. I turned to him, and I'm like, Coach, I can't take the ball from out of bounds. He's like, what are you talking about? I said, my father told me not to take the ball from out of bounds. He says, why would you not run the play and take the ball from out of bounds? And I looked at him. I said, Coach, you can't score from out of bounds. So there was great stories. The town of Westboro, it means so much to me to come back to here and just kind of, share all these memories that I have. And, and I hate to say it, but I live far away. So when you live far away, it's sad. But boy, you almost are more precious for those memories and the impact all you people had on me, the coaches and the family. So just want to thank you guys very much.
Unfortunately, Megan Faye McGough was not able to make it today, so I'm going to go ahead and read a few of her honors and bring up her brother, Andy, to receive her plaque. While at Westboro, Megan played 3 varsity sports each year, helping to bring the field hockey team to a Midland League championship in 1986 and the softball team to the Midland League championship in 1987. She received both the Coca-Cola and Middlesex News MVP awards, as well as being named the best defensive field hockey player in 1985. In basketball, she was named MVP in her junior year and most improved her senior year when she also served as captain. She played in the Bay State Games and Junior Olympics as a high school junior. In softball, she was also named captain and MVP in her senior year and went on to the University of Notre Dame, where she holds several records as an offensive leader in hitting and runs scored, and where she was named the MVP by the Notre Dame National Monogram Club in 1991. After college, she continued to play softball in industrial and city leagues, as well as women's league hockey. Her high school training and dedicated coaches helped shape her life with a commitment to excellence and a lifelong involvement in sports. Megan currently resides in Ashland with her husband and her 2 daughters. And again, here to accept her plaque on her behalf is her brother, Andy.
Thanks so much.
And lunch, yeah.
Yeah, unfortunately, Megan had a long kind of prearranged trip, so she couldn't be here today, but she told me to remember one thing, and that was to mention her coaches throughout the years in the high school. I can see Coach Devish here and Coach Leduc, and I can't remember who the women's basketball coach was back then. I don't know if anyone remembers, but yeah, maybe. But she said you can't become a great athlete without great coaches. They're not exclusive from each other, and I think that speaks volumes to the coaches here. You've got other coaches here, Coach Gibo, Coach Mawini. You guys were terrific, as Mike alluded to, and Megan, beyond that, was a little sassy, and coaching goes outside of the field in the locker room, and any given day, not any given day, but on certain days, she could, this is my little dig at her, frankly end up in detention hall as much as she could have ended up at the practice field or at a game. So I think that speaks volumes to the coaches again, and for her to have such a successful career at the high school and then move on to Notre Dame and play 2 sports. So she thanks you very much and thanks the committee. Thank you.
Congratulations. Want to take one picture, Dave? With me? And next up, here to introduce Rob Pano is his coach, Bob Poole.
It is a pleasure to be here today. I look at so many of the coaches here, Dick Leduc and Joe and on, Jan, and so often we only are able to get together for funerals. So it's a happy and a joyous day to be here to honor so many wonderful athletes and young people. You know, I think about what a great day this induction brunch is. And I want to challenge each young athlete and recipient. This is no small feat. You know, I still live in Westboro, and I drive by the high school so often, and I see literally hundreds of young people out playing sports. And it's in their wildest dreams that they hope that someday they can be sitting where you are right now, having achieved incredible success. As all of us know, we see TV and high school sports, college sports, pro sports. How many young people, how many people participate? And only a few reach the status that you have reached today. So please, honor and cherish all of the accolades that go with it. I'm here to introduce Rob Pano today, class of 1991. Rob is very special to me. I coach so many athletes. To me, Rob's determination, his spirit, his inspiration ranks as high or higher than any young man I've ever been associated with. Rob's story is a little bit different. Rob was a sophomore, 1989, on our high school baseball team. His brother Matt was starting third baseman. We played a game on a Friday against Clinton, and Matt represented Westboro well. The next morning, Matt had passed away due to spinal meningitis. And you know, the grieving and sadness that the entire Pano family had to endure, as well as our team and the Westboro High School community, was just beyond what, you know, what anyone should have to go through. Rob had a couple of choices. He could have let the situation do him in, or he could have used it to motivate himself to be the best possible person, athlete, role model that he could be. And he chose the latter. And that's why he's here today. That's why I'm here today. Rob went on to be a three-sport star. I've got a couple of notes. He played both ways in defense and football, was a member of the Super Bowl team, was on the All-Star team. His junior and senior year, two-year record was 17-3 in football. In basketball, Rob was a starting point guard. They were league champs, Central Mass champs. The team record in basketball during his junior and senior year was 38-10. It was in baseball where Rob really excelled. He was a league all-star. The team was league champs. He was league MVP. He was team captain. And Rob led us to the state championship. He still holds a lot of Westboro records. You know, I remember when I think of Rob, I think of team. And I was listening closely to Susan earlier with her acceptance speech, and she talked about her team. And that's really how I think of Rob Pano. Rob will probably be up here in a moment. He'll probably talk about the many wonderful teammates that he had. He was so unselfish. I remember after our state championship game, which his mom was dancing around gloriously afterwards, the team was extremely happy and joyous. And I looked at Rob, and he wasn't quite as happy. And I went over to him, and I said, Rob, this is a great moment. He said, Coach, who else can we play? And that's what Rob was all about, the opportunity to compete. You know, and through all of these years, and I still see Rob quite often these days, through all of these years, I've always felt that Rob made a decision back there in 1989 that he would be playing for both he and his brother. And that's why this moment is so special to me. I feel like he achieved another goal in his long line. There has never been, in my mind, a more positive person with everything that he attempted. We were playing golf recently, and it was a close match, and Rob said, I really need a par in this hole. And I hit a good drive. It's probably 150 yards away. Hit a second shot, ended up in the sand trap. And I said to Rob, being the coach, I said, you can still make a par from there, Rob. And Rob looked up at me, spontaneously said, what's wrong with a birdie, Coach? And that's how Rob approached approach things. Rob lives in Grafton now. He's engaged to Desi, who's here with us today. He's a physical therapist, and since his graduation, he's constantly found ways to give back to the community, being a volunteer coach with the football program and the baseball program. He and his family run a scholarship in Matt's honor. And every year, I mean, it's a testament to Rob that 40 or 50 graduates from the 1991 class return to partake in the Matt Panel Memorial Golf Tournament. Each year, there is a $1,000 scholarship given to a deserving male and female graduate of Westboro High. Rob Pano and his family are what communities like Westboro are all about. It's my honor to introduce Rob. Thanks, Coach Poole. I just want to basically give thanks to just a few people. Number one, Coach Poole. Simply for just always having the trust and believing in me when I was in the field. And as a person as nowadays, appreciate that. To my parents, who basically just always gave me the opportunity to do whatever I wanted to do and always support me in doing it. Thank you so much. I truly love you guys. To my teammates, my accomplishments through this school, everything we got, everything I accomplished as far as accolades and MVPs, all those things all go out to them. I only played better because I had great teammates, and I wanted to play better because of them. And they trusted me and believed in me, and it felt good to have them as my teammates. And I always wondered the day I could always just dedicate my life, my years in high school, sports, when I would get that opportunity that day to say thanks to my brother. And I'm glad Coach Poole brought it up. I don't have to say why and how it happened, but since that day occurred in high school, it certainly brought me to a new level, and I never looked back. You know, when we were kids, he was the older one, and I just looked up to him. And I just tried to be better and better than him. But it was hard because he was bigger and bigger than me. And he just always just wanted me to be better than him. He wasn't selfish. He just actually wanted me to be better and take the spotlight because he didn't want it. And as you can see, I don't like the spotlight either. But he did, you know. In junior high, he made the 7th grade basketball team as the only 7th grader, and they're all 8th graders. And I was so proud of him for it. I was like, that's unbelievable. I was just so psyched for him, and I just wanted to always just keep playing as good, if not better. And again, he was never selfish, wanted me to be. So that day that he did pass away, it was just an amazing feeling going out in the field each and every day with my teammates, knowing he was up there looking at us. We couldn't lose. It just was not going to happen. Coach Shebo remembers, Marty Hayes remembers, Coach LeDuc remembers, Bob Poole remembers, Mr. Masters remembers, and if I forgot any of you guys, you remember those days in high school. And I want to thank all my coaches, of course, for sticking with me, supporting me, showing me the way, trusting me again. And thank Westboro High School, because every time I bring up Westboro High School and it says to me, where are you from? I say Westboro High School. I say it with tons of pride. And some people don't know Westboro High School, but a lot of people do. And I'm extremely proud to have gone here and be a part of all this. So congratulations to all the inductees
Each and every one of you guys deserves it, and I'm a real lucky man to be put into this Hall of Fame with each and every one of you guys. Thank you very much.
Again, I'd like to congratulate all of our 2009 Hall of Fame inductees, and I would like to thank all of the presenters today for doing a wonderful job introducing them. This is going to conclude our program. We do have some cake that will be served. If people would like to mill around, have a piece of cake. There's still some more coffee and tea. I want to mention a couple of things for you. Unfortunately, the weather has not cooperated the way we wanted, but we still do have a carnival that's set up by our Westboro High School Student Council in the gyms upstairs. So if you and your family would like to attend, see some of the booths that are going on, the Westboro High School Student Council does a great job setting up a homecoming festival, and that still is taking place up in our gymnasiums. Actually, the Leduc Gymnasium. Also, if anybody is still interested, I did have a plan to introduce the Hall of Fame inductees at halftime of the football game. I completely understand if the weather has put a damper on that parade, but if people are still interested in attending the football game, we still are going to be making an announcement at halftime. If you guys are there, that would be great. We can take you guys out to midfield. If people cannot stay around, we totally understand that as well. We do have some tickets to the football game that are complimentary for you and your families, and Carly Murphy is sitting over there at our table right now and will be willing to give you guys tickets to the football game. Just show those to the ticket takers and let them know that I gave them to you, and you'll be all set to enter the game. Pictures, if anybody would like family pictures, we would still like to get one big picture with all 7 inductees, so if we can do that immediately following this, that would be great. But Mr. Kelly is available to be taking pictures of you and your families or you with your presenter as well. And all of the pictures will be available on our website, which is westboroboosters.com, and it usually takes Mike a couple of days to get those up and running, but you can check out westboroboosters.com for all the pictures of this event. And lastly, if you are leaving us right away, as you're heading out of the main lobby, some of you may have seen it on your way in, you may not have. On the left-hand side, we have some display cases. Mrs. Libby and some students yesterday were able to get some pictures, yearbook pictures of all of our inductees. And so we have some great pictures in a display case up in the main lobby on your left-hand side. So again, I want to thank you all for coming today. Congratulations to our inductees, and enjoy the rest of the day.